The most news in the morning. CNN's American Morning. Weekday, 6 a.m. Eastern.
As President Obama makes a new push for peace in the Middle East, concern is growing about the threat that Iran poses in the region and what Israel is prepared to do about it. Iran expected to be a major topic when Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak and Defense Secretary Robert Gates meet later on today at the Pentagon. Joining us now from Washington to talk more about this and the peace process, Michael Oren, who is Israel's ambassador to the United States. Mr. Ambassador, great to see you this morning.
Good morning, John. How are you?
So as this meeting takes place between your defense minister and the defense secretary, there's growing concern that Israel may act unilaterally to take out Iran's nuclear facilities. Are you prepared to go to war with Iran if necessary?
John, we're committed to the sanctions program. The president has said repeatedly that he is determined to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Just yesterday, National Security Advisor General Jim Jones said a nuclear Iran presents a mortal danger to all states in the Middle East. A nuclear Iran can pass on nuclear military capabilities to terrorist organizations that will trigger a nuclear arms race in the Middle East and undermine nonproliferation efforts worldwide. We understand and we appreciate that the United States is leading an international consensus on sanctions against Iran. We're committed to that process. We're now watching as a fourth UN resolution will be passed that will provide an umbrella for biting sanctions against that regime.
But, Mr. Ambassador, if it looks like that regime is not going to work, that you will not get the sanctions, if that process will not get the desired result, is Israel prepared to act unilaterally to take out Iran's nuclear facilities?
Well, Israel, John, like any country in the world, has a right to defend itself. And we have a particular memory of a time 65 years ago when Jews didn't have a right to defend themselves, and we remembered what happened. But the fact of the matter is, again, we are committed to these sanctions, seeing how they work, getting them up and running, and imposing them on this regime in order to deter Iran from making nuclear weapons.
Vice President Joe Biden said the other day that if Israel were to act and strike out at Iran, he expects that your government would inform the administration, would inform the White House of what's to happen. Is he correct in saying that?
John, the United States is a great friend of the State of Israel. We have an unbreakable alliance. That alliance has been reiterated by just about every member of this administration in the last week. The President, the Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, Rahm Emanuel, David Axelrod, they've all reiterated the unshakable bonds between our two countries. We are deeply in communication about the Iranian issue, as well as about other issues related to our common security. As administration officials have said repeatedly, there's no daylight between Israel and the United States on security issues.
Do you believe that Iran currently represents an existential threat against the state of Israel?
I think Iran poses a serious and mortal threat, not just against Israel, but against many Middle Eastern nations and against world security in general, the people of this country. If Iran gets a bomb, a great number of countries in the world, many of them unstable, many of them failed regimes, terrorist groups, will get access to military nuclear technology, and Iran is providing missiles.
There is some suggestion by analysts that the United States may not be able to stop Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, if indeed that's what it's seeking. If the United States allows Iran to get the bomb, is that acceptable to Israel?
Well, I think the administration, again, has repeated, and I can't tell you how many times it's repeated, that it is determined to prevent Iran from acquiring that nuclear weapon. Nobody is talking about coexisting with a nuclear Iran.
But how far, Mr. Ambassador, do you let this threat go before Israel, as it did in 1981 with the Osirak nuclear reactor in Iraq, say, we can't take this anymore, we have to do something about it?
Again, we are committed to the sanctions, John, and we're going to see how these things work. We have every confidence that President Obama is going to lead this effort internationally. The international community is far more united today in recognizing the need to stop Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons through sanctions. And Iran is internally divided, something that wasn't the case a year ago.
Well, let's talk about what's going on between Syria and Lebanon and in Iran's possible role in it. Your president, Shimon Peres, insists that Syria has transferred Scud missiles to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Your Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Iran is trying to provoke a conflict between Israel and Syria. How close to potential war are you in the Middle East?
We have no intention of attacking Lebanon, Syria, or anybody else in the Middle East. But the fact of the matter is the Syrians have providing missiles to Hezbollah in Lebanon. We're very much focused on these Scuds because they're very big. They have a 1-ton payload. it could even take a chemical payload.
We saw this in the first Iraq War.
And it has a range which can hit any city in the state of Israel. But that shouldn't obscure the fact that the Iranians and the Syrians have provided as many as 60,000 rockets to Hezbollah, all of them aimed at Israeli cities, towns, farms that are quite deadly. And that this poses a threat not just to the people of Israel, but also to the people of Lebanon and also neighboring states. It's a dire threat.
Well, are we heading for another conflict in the Middle East?
Well, I think the Obama administration has made it clear to the Syrians that this is unacceptable behavior. They've summoned the Syrian diplomat in this city 4 times to the State Department to warn them. And we are confident that the American administration, the Obama administration, understands this danger and has made its concerns clear to the Syrian government.